Let's get started. Okay. Welcome to the community development meeting for January 13th, 2025. We'll have a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so at today's meeting, we have myself, Commissioner Damon Mullen, Commissioner Kip, Commissioner Nicholas, our Township Solicitor, Sean Kilkenny, Township Manager, Pat Stacio, and we also have David Alzero, Director of Public Works, and Jim from Gilmore and Associates. And also call the meeting to order. Any announcements?
There are no announcements.
Any presentations?
There are no presentations.
Any public comments for non-agenda items? So we'll move on to the approval for minutes. Do we have motion to approve the minutes? Oh, all right, go ahead.
Just one minor correction. On my copy, it's on the second page, on the second line, where I commented about birds, and it should say regarding birds colliding with the building glass.
Thank you. I'll make that change.
Other than that, I have nothing. We're good.
I just, not related to minutes, just wondering when we're going to have another crack at telling the county we're worried about bird strikes. Because they seem to just, blew that off that night we had the conversation. County coming back for land development or something?
The county will not be coming back for land development. That was decided and discussed at that last CDC meeting that they would be filing an application and it would be handled administratively for review. So I do not think they're coming. We're not going to see them again for land development.
I can certainly relay our concerns about the windows and.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's.
Will do.
As we saw with the library, it's not a big deal. Lots of buildings are doing it. Okay.
Okay. So other than those minor changes, can I get a second? Approval for the minutes? Motion?
Yes.
All approve? Okay. All right, so we'll move on to the new business, portion of Helen Street for abandonment. Pat.
Commissioners, thank you. I'll address this. Helen Street is a street near Fair Oaks Park that comes off of Scroble. Scroble kind of terminates and turns left, and there's Helen Street. It's a partially paved street, and then the remaining section of Helen Street is a paper street, essentially grass. It's probably about 120 feet, maybe in that range. The township has no desire to own that property. It's a paper street on our tax maps. For over 21 years, the property has been maintained by the neighbors and not by the township. As far as we know, there's no township utilities on there. There might be a sewer line that they'd have, the folks requesting ownership of that property would have to work with the sewer authority. It's our recommendation that we grant the request by the homeowner to take ownership of that section of the paper street. Okay. I'm looking at the solicitor to see if there's any additional information.
Yeah, no, yes, thank you very much. So by law, because it hasn't been claimed by the township actually in 21 years, it is there. So you have to go through a petition where they would go through the orphans court. The fact that we passed an ordinance going ahead and doing this, they could go ahead and petition the orphans court now and they would have the legal right to do, but it just kind of clears it up. I know one of the questions President McFatridge raised was related to a manhole and its relation to our authority. I know you were reaching out to them just to put them on notice, but of course the authority is a separate municipal corporation other than us. And although we communicate and talk, ultimately that's their bailiwick, not ours.
I was just interested, thinking about why this came up. I think it would be a problem if you're trying to sell your property. This was unresolved, and maybe that's why it came up.
Yeah, it's clearer for everybody, so.
And just to confirm, Dave, we have nothing on that property. Okay?
What we're recommending is move this forward for the full board. Is there an ordinance that can be prepared by
Yes,
February meeting?
we discussed this ourselves, staff, Mr. Baumler, and he's talked to Mr. Cools, who is the attorney for the landowners, and we can put forward an ordinance. Yes.
So we have the ordinance by
Yeah.
meeting, okay? Any commissioner comments? Public comments? Guys want to move it forward? Yep,
Yeah.
okay, we'll move it forward. Move it forward to the February 3rd meeting. All right, so our next new business is the bamboo ordinance. We'll have our township solicitor.
Sure, thank you very much. I know this has been an issue which has been bantered around by the Board of Commissioners and some concerned residents for the last couple months. So Mr. Baumler from my office was working on a bamboo ordinance, getting a sample from another municipality we represent. And it's interesting, as we researched the issue, I wanted to, and talking with staff earlier today, right now it is covered under the Property Maintenance Code. Property Maintenance Code is an existing Upper Moreland ordinance, and we've adopted the 2015 version of the code. So section 302.4 of the Property Maintenance Code, which we've adopted, said weeds, all grasses, annual plants and vegetation other than trees or shrubs provided for under this term shall not include cultivated flowers and gardens. Bamboo would, under the definition, be classified as a weed under this definition and is defined as such. Upper Moreland 2 amended section 302.4 sets a height of 12 inches as the threshold for overgrowth. And as far as enforcement under the International Property Maintenance Code, it's the owner's responsibility to remove the offending weeds after receipt of the notice of violation. If the property owner fails to do so, we have the authority to enter the property. We could either cite them, we could enter the property, we could remediate the weeds and assess the cost to the property owner. I know it's been discussed, removing bamboo gets very, very expensive because it's very invasive and goes deep. So that's obviously a policy decision that would probably have to come back to the board, but it would be a prohibitive cost. But right now we have the ability to cite people for bamboo, and if it was really egregious, go ahead and make them go through this property. Mr. Baumler also drafted a bamboo ordinance, which you have before you, and I'll explain the differences between what's currently on the books and what was proposed. So under the proposed bamboo ordinance, pre-existing bamboo is treated as the same under the International Property Maintenance Code. Property owners are responsible for maintaining the spread of the plant to neighboring private and township properties, and if they fail to do so, are issued a notice of violation and have 5 days to correct the issue, which is actually a shorter time period than the IPMC, which is the Property Maintenance Code. I'm speaking in jargon here, which is 20 to 30 days. If the problem is not remedied, the township can remediate the issue and bill the property owner the same as under the Property Maintenance Code. The only real difference in the proposed ordinance versus what's currently on the books in place is that the new ordinance specifically prohibits new bamboo from being planted in the ground, where in the Property Maintenance Code, new bamboo can be planted in the ground. New bamboo is not outright prohibited. It can still be planted, under the new international, I should clarify that, under the International Property Maintenance Code, new bamboo cannot be planted in the ground. New bamboo is not outright prohibited. It can still be planted in an appropriate planting box or planter, so long as the root system does not spread underground. So if someone wanted on their patio bamboo for decoration or something they wanted, or they really liked the bamboo plant or how it looked, they could place it in a planter and have it. So that's the difference between what's currently on the books and what was written and proposed. So it's up to the township if they want to pursue this current ordinance, but it's our view, and in talking to staff, that probably it's on the books is adequate.
So if I can ask a question,
Yeah.
right now, folks can plant bamboo in the ground according to our ordinance, but they have to keep it under 12 inches tall.
Yes,
And if we move forward with a new ordinance, they'd be able to plant bamboo in a planter, which then can grow to a larger
Yes.
height.
Well, how much are we in for in terms of cost and to pass another ordinance? We've already-
passing an ordinance is
Already paid for the
a
work.
couple $100 of advertising.
If we do that, we could have conflicting, because one says one thing and the other one's, the new one that we had said 6 inch, the other one, the one we have on the books now.
I mean, we could change the one we have right now, that it's not set in stone. I mean, this was not meant to be passed tonight or anything like that, yeah.
Yeah. I just don't want to get into conflicting
Sure,
things. So I agree with you that we probably should leave it and we have it already. And thanks for bringing that to us today. It's up to the board.
Yeah, any other commissioner comments?
I just wonder, can't we modify our present ordinance to be more specific?
yes, you can amend the property maintenance code, yes, you can. It's not like the UCC, it's not like the building codes where you have to go through a variance process. The International Property Maintenance Code can be amended locally.
So the only amendment, if we went that route, would be to include bamboo can be planted in a planter,
Right.
But not in the ground.
not in the ground.
Now, you can plant it in the ground, but it can't grow more than 12.
Yeah.
There's also an issue, just for the board's information, of enforcement of this. We can certainly send our codes enforcement department out and inform people that they're violating our bamboo or our ordinances, and require those folks to remove that bamboo. The cost of removal, just for your information, so everybody's aware, can be minor. It could also be quite expensive, in the thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, depending on how much you have and the efforts to eradicate it.
Dr. Saunders, do you have a comment?
Yes, public comments?
Yes. So if I understand this correctly, our current ordinance does not prevent the planting of bamboo
does
in the
not.
ground, which,
So if it gets a little, it's pretty low, but yeah. so-
yeah. And obviously, I think it would be best if we didn't allow people to plant bamboo unless it's tightly controlled. And it seems like this ordinance also gives more, what's the word I'm looking for? A penalty than our current ordinance.
I don't know if the penalty, the time frame is tighter, but in reality, you're probably not going to cite someone 5 days and then come down on them in reality. You know?
Right, yeah.
Normally 20 to 30 days sounds more reasonable. for
Sure.
Something like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, obviously.
And we could look in the fact, and I can speak to Mr. Baumler, who's did the yeoman's work on this, as far as maybe rather than doing a standalone ordinance, can we just amend our property maintenance code locally to address that issue? And so then it's kind of clearer.
All right, so,
I would be in favor of that.
Okay.
like I said, I'd like to see people not plant it in the ground.
Okay.
So is the committee's recommendation just to amend the,
If possible, yeah, we'll look at that issue and then bring it back.
Bring it back.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, we'll move on to old business, the downtown parking lot improvement.
Commissioner, thank you. As you may recall, the township is considering making some changes to our downtown parking lot. We currently own a small parking lot at the intersection of Davisville and York Roads, across the street from the county building. There's 13 spaces there, or about 13 spaces. We're looking at converting that parking area to a little bit smaller, a 9-space parking area, and then have some seated areas and raised planters. It will also create a safer walkway to folks to get from that parking lot to Easton Road to visit the shops in downtown Willow Grove. The cost for this project is about $125,000, which does not include demolition of the existing parking area, nor the paving of the 9 new spaces, which I think we would ask the Public Works Department to do. Out of the $125,000, we did apply for a Downtown Main Street Matters grant in the amount of $57,000. We won't know if we're going to receive that grant until probably early summer. So we're looking at about $125,000 if we do not receive the grant. This is part of a downtown beautification project. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions or defer to our engineers if you required specific information.
So if we approve this and it gets voted in February, when's the earliest that we could start the work?
So 2 things on that. The funding for this, the design is already funded. The actual work would be funded most likely through a 2025 bond issue, which we're not sure when we're going to go out for that. We can use reserve and then we can reimburse our reserve from the new bond whenever we get that. The timing, I'll defer to our engineer on that.
Yeah, I guess a question for you. You mentioned that you had applied for the downtown funding grant and you were going to not hear about that until the summer. If we were to proceed with work prior to your award of that, then that wouldn't be able to pay for it.
Correct. We can do the designing and the engineering and we can go out to bid. We can't award the projects until we have the contracts from the granting agency. So we would probably want to wait to go out to bid until we receive those contracts.
Yeah, and so I think that's your critical path. We can be working now, between now and then, to make sure that everything is ready to go out to bid. But we've got the concept very far along at this point, and I had some discussions with Dave Elsier today. I think your Public Works team can also install the curbing and sidewalk along Davisville. So those are 2 items that I had in the previous estimate that can kind of come out from at least labor standpoint. Materials would still be in there though.
So hearing this, I think we can be ready to go as soon as we're notified if we receive the grant. We can put it out to bid, go through that process, and then start construction, if all goes well, probably sometime in September.
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
The 100,000 that we had for this, we moved that to other projects, didn't we?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure that's
Yeah.
what we did.
Yeah.
Just for the COVID
We
money to make sure it was.
We had to have certain commitments by certain deadlines, and this was not a project that we could have that commitment by.
Okay, good, thanks.
Any other comments?
I'm in favor of it, definitely.
I'm in favor. Okay, we'll move to the board meeting, February's meeting. Okay.
Thank you.
And just on this issue, this will mean we will have a new corner, catty corner to the train station. That will get redone. And our hope is we get the train station with the deal to move it down the street, which would allow us to eventually make that side, that corner nice. And then the apartments have already done theirs. That one's nice, and the county is redoing theirs. So we could have a whole intersection completely redone in the next couple of years, which would be really nice for the downtown. That's all, just a comment.
Okay, so we will move on to the monthly reports. Our code enforcement department report is in the packet. If there's any questions, they can be addressed to the township. So we'll move on to the Public Works Department report and recycling report. Dave.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. You have my November and December reports for your review. I have nothing further to add, but will gladly answer any questions.
I'll make a comment. On the first storm we had, not the last weekend, the prior one, there were a bunch of accidents all around us, and I had an officer come to me and say that in Upper Moreland, you guys hit it at the right time for the salt and everything else, and we had none, no traffic incidents. So kudos to your department, getting them out there at the time you did. It all went really well, as according to the police. They notified me.
So we'll move on to the engineer's report. Jim?
Thank you. My report is in your packets. I don't have anything specific to add, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
Well, I'm going to beat a dead horse some more. The supposed artwork on the Amazon Fresh store now, those bullet holes in the wall that light up. Yeah, they light up a little bit at the top. When you look at it, you don't really know what it is. I think they change color, but that's nothing like what we requested. And I would like to go back in the minutes to the meetings somewhere back in time when we discussed that. And I would like to bring that to the attention of Federal Realty. You know, you promised this and you gave us that. And you know, I guess it's somebody's artistic rendition, but it doesn't work. And I just, during the daytime, you just see a bunch of holes in the wall, you don't know what it is. And at night, it's not well lighted. And it's a poor design. Anyway.
What view is it? The facing Amazon Fresh or the side of it on Moreland?
Driving up the street.
On Moreland side, on the Moreland
You
Road?
see that?
Moreland and Easton.
Yeah.
Both of
Welcome
them.
to-
They have to come back in for the rest of their project, right? They will be.
I mean,
back in for that?
the mural on the building is not something that my office oversaw at all.
No,
So
no,
I
no.
would, I mean, to Nick's question to me, I would defer to Pat on what's going on with that. But as far as what federal needs to come back to the township for,
They're coming back for the other
They promised
piece,
us Stainless steel murals with
for their design of
with
the
willow trees on
the
it.
apartments.
And they
for the
they gave us a
architectural.
representation. And I looked at it and I said, those aren't willow trees. So I sent them pictures of willow trees. And we got this brick thing with holes in it.
Commissioner, I will go back through the minutes, and I will make contact with Federal Realty to see if we can get this resolved. I have seen what you're talking about. It is difficult to make out exactly what it is. I think on the Easton Road side, there's a train, which you can tell, I believe what that is.
Is that what that is?
I know because I walked it, and you can see it, but yeah, I'll take a look at it,
And I couldn't figure out.
and we'll see how we can get that corrected. Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Any questions? Okay. So traffic reports in the packet. We will move on to the Environmental Advisory Council report.
So you have your December in your packets, but we did also meet this month already. So in December, we discussed possible topics for the Spring Township newsletter, and those have been submitted. We ordered an educational sign from Treasure Sign about native plants that people could put in their own yards. We have received that sign. It's in my garage waiting better weather and just exactly where we'll put it. We discussed ways to work with the Shade Tree Committee on tree education and tree giveaway for residents. And they're planning on doing, along with Parks and Rec, doing a number of Habitat Hero events, which we certainly would like to partner with. We're also developing a handout to give to residents at events about planting or replacing trees they have cut down. Ideally, we'd like to give those to tree companies so they could give them to residents when they cut down a tree and try and, just a pamphlet saying, it'd be great if you replanted more trees. At our January meeting, we started planning for Earth Day, which will be on April 26th this year at Mason's Mill Park. We also discussed ways to help residents become more aware of the advantage of planting native plants, such as milkweeds or cardinal flowers, et cetera. And we'd like to have maybe an informational talk at the library and give away native plants. We'll certainly give away native plants at the Earth Day Fair. And we're also maybe talking about giving away native plants as well as trees at the Habitat Hero events. So, anything else?
Any questions?
All right.
Other than that, thank you.
If you guys would like some native plants, let us know.
Yes, we'll do. The Historical Commission report.
Good evening, Commissioners. So for the Historical Commission, yes, we met in December, you did not, and we have already met in January, so it's a double report, but pretty much finishes up last year, going over the various things that we did and wanting to do most of them again, which is a good sign, I think, all the way around. Basically, one of the things we bring before you tonight is in one, we have a website. The person that was designated as an alternate, he stepped down from an at-large member to an alternate member. And then we asked if he would take care of the website. It is not anything that any of our commissioners have the bandwidth for, either time, place, space, whatever, capabilities. So we turn to you to say that we do need some type of assistance in what we can do about that. Hire somebody, work with somebody here in the township to choose that person. It isn't a lot of time, I'm sure, because we don't make major changes. But when we do, and when we need to, it would be far better for someone to be managing that than it is for the commission itself to do what we already admit that none of us know really how to do well. So I bring that before you as an issue that we would like to work on. As you can see, we've had 2 members who've resigned. Our projects remain active. We are doing another sign. You all know that about the accident, and we're working on that sign with the UMHA to come up with the text. We've already agreed the graphic should be an historical depiction of the schoolhouse that is there, not a modern depiction. So that was an easy fix for all of us. We'll go back to the 1900s version that we're describing in the text anyway, so that's a yay. I know Jackie Sherapinski has reached out to the school district. The school district has cleaned out some of its lockers, I guess, as we funnily say about them moving their superintendent and all of the administration over to Davisville Road. So they've come upon some things, and we'll be looking at them first, and then we'll be, of course, having the UMHA catalog them and go through them. And hopefully there'll be a museum here in this building at some point in time, and everyone will be able to see them. Other than that, we've done our piece for the spring newsletter. Mr. Sassio, I hope you have that. Good. And we will be putting ourselves on the calendar. I think that Mrs. Sherapinski already asked you about whether we could share a weekend with the parade, Pumpkins on Parade, and I think between you and Katie Kohler, all that would be worked out better than it was. We will not be on a Sunday again, so that was great, but, it was a lot to get people to come out, 2 days. Other than that, we just have questions for you all in terms of anything you'd like to see us be doing. We're interested in Davisville Road. We're interested in the preservation of some of those homes there that still remain, and in working with developers to, again, look at the plans for retail on the bottom and apartments and other rentable space up above, but incorporating maybe our Sears homes, that we have 3 Sears homes, so put that out there for people who love to talk about Sears homes. And we have of course, the Empire home that's for sale, and the barn that went with that, and the carriage house that went with that. There's 3 distinct properties there that were once one major property. So we're looking to advise you of that. Oh, and last thing did come to me in a text message. I said I would bring it up, and I'm not sure where it can be directed, but here I am. Flags in 2026 on flagpoles. Abington still has them. They're in Glenside, all through Glenside. The public utility poles have flags out over the street, American flags out over the street. And we'd like to know what we can do, and somebody here would be making that reach to Verizon, Pico, you know immediately who owns those poles. So, and then we would be able to, get people involved in that project, because we would like to be considering that. And that's something to talk to Parks and Rec. Katie Kohler's always looped into all of this, but, so, because we understand that's how it's going to be handled. So anything that we can do for anybody, any ideas you want to bring to us? If not, see you in February. Thank you, Commissioner.
I just want, Susan, wait a minute.
Oh, yes, of course,
I'm
I'm
looking
sorry.
at this item about the school district recently found artifacts in the beginning of the school district. What were those?
I'm not sure. Some of it is 1918 school board, handwritten, of course, minutes. I don't know physically what it is, and apparently Jackie wasn't able to get, statements about that either. Some of it, I don't know, a mug from, that was our joke. It's a pencil box or a mug from somebody's desk, But still, 1918 is historical. It's 100 years plus. So, we're just going to go look at it, and then we'll take pictures and share it all around with the UMHA and, maybe put some of the case back here.
There's an apocryphal story about the monument from Fraser Hill Park that was disappeared for many years. It had been dug up in the early 50s, disappeared. It was found in the principal's office at the high school. And I think that's what's in the case out there. But it doesn't look like much of anything. And I'm wondering if there was more to it than that.
Well, we'll take everything, because Commissioner, you and I think that was it in this room, went underneath everything before it became the station apartments, when it was still Mandarin Garden and everything. So we literally did basement to attic, and we took everything out that we could. So we'll do the same thing here.
Talking about a principal in the school district had that in his desk or whatever. And anyway, just an old story.
Yes, and if there's anything like that, we'll be sure we have it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other commissioner comments? If we're not, we're adjourned.
Good.